What about, have you seen the officials be intimidated in games? Just from the crowd throwing crap? Or
Absolutely, yeah. I think Frank may have mentioned it earlier, but there was one game in Honduras where the linesman got hit by a whiskey bottle. He went down, the game stopped, and then he didn't call any more offsides for the rest of the game. So I think that's always there in a game, and you want the officials to be strong and call the game as it is, but big crowds and intimidating places, they affect people, so it's always part of the equation. There's lots of variables, and that's a big part of it.
What are some of your memories of playing in Central America, just in terms of how difficult the conditions are?
Yeah.
Everything's kind of put against you?
I think everything's different. Most of the guys play in Europe or in North America, and things are kind of, a certain way, and pretty much everything's different when you go there. The weather is extreme. The food's different. There's a lot of travel, and then there's all the gamesmanship. The power goes out in your hotel. There's no food there. They won't let you in to train the day before. Anything that can be done to affect you, to help their team get points, they'll expect it. And it's stuff that when you see it for the first time, you can't believe it. But once you have a little bit of experience and you know it's going to happen and you expect it, then you can try to, kind of get your head around it and have it not affect you.
Did you ever worry about eating the food, or did you ever see something that said, I'm not eating that?
All the time. We had someone that traveled with us that would... I think the big fear was stuff that had been in contact with the water down there, because there's different bacteria in it. So we would never touch anything that had been in contact with water. And we had someone that kind of sat in the kitchen and monitored everything. So you do get smarter. You kind of learn what's going on, and people that have traveled down there before know what to expect. And we always got good advice, but it's something that unless you've experienced it firsthand, you can't really imagine it. So I think most of the Canadian guys have been down there before and seen it. They obviously played Panama, so they've seen it there, but most of them have a couple qualifying rounds in them, so they know what to expect. And even if you do, it's still difficult, but the rules are completely different down there.
What about the first time you went down there? Which veterans kind of said to you, listen, get ready, because this is a whole different experience?
Yeah, it was probably Randy Samuel and Frank, Colin Miller, Ian Bridge, guys that had been down there before. But like I said, even so, if you don't experience for yourself, it doesn't have any effect, because it's like coming from Vancouver or Canada. It's a completely different world, and just the passion. The thing that grabbed me was just the passion of the people there. That was the most important thing in their lives. 80-year-olds, 5-year-olds. That's all they cared about, is their team getting 3 points that day.
Tell me about what the crowd was like then, if you stopped to take a look into the crowds during some of those games.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it, because it was such a new thing, and you don't see that kind of stuff at home. So I always enjoyed it. It motivated me. But crowds like that they can have a big impact on the game. Just the noise they make, the influence on the refs. A guy goes down, a big roar from the home crowd. The referee thinks about it a second time, probably. It's little things like that make the big difference. But I think they're great atmospheres. They're tough. There's a lot of things that go against you, but when you're playing, you want to play in crazy, passionate atmospheres like that.
Can you get a team together that enjoys those type of situations, that really embraces it and likes to go in those hostile environments?
I think so. I think it's the first thing is get the right characters. Get the right kind of guys that, whatever sort of adversity that's thrown their way, they're going to respond. I think the second thing is experience too. Make sure the guys that when the game really matters, they've got experience. They've been down there before. They know what to expect. So it's not the first time, because the first time can be a little rattling. But I think most of those guys, the Canadian guys, they've all played at a good level, and they've been down there before, so they know what to expect. And even so, it's a difficult game.
It's one thing to have experience, but how difficult is it to keep your head when a guy is not touched and goes down and draws a foul and that type of thing, especially late in the game when you're trying to even up or get a result?
Sure. It takes a lot of composure. That's a very difficult thing when things are a certain way and you're probably not going to get those calls. It's tough, and it affects you. You have to stay strong for 90 minutes, and expect everything to go against you. That's maybe the best advice I would give. Expect everything to go wrong, everything to go against you, because it's probably going to happen. And you need to keep that mentality and stay strong for 90 minutes to have any chance of getting a result.
Well, some of the things you've seen thrown, I mean, you mentioned the whiskey bottle when you're out there, stuff landing by, or maybe Craig Forrest when he was on that.
Yeah, no, there's been lots of fruit, oranges, apples, bananas. There was bags of urine, I remember very well. You never want to be taking a throwing on that particular side, and usually, well, once you'd seen it before, you'd make a little fake run. All the bags would hit the fence, and then wait for things to clear, and then go get the ball and take a quick throw. But yeah, lots of stuff thrown. I don't know if that's still the same. I imagine there's a few things coming on the field, but hopefully it's not quite at that level.
I always talk about critical times for Canadian soccer. We have them since the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
They've got a chance to move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
These next couple of games, to be able to do that, how big is it, you think, for the national program?
It's crucial every time. I just think, we've got some good players and we've got a good team, and I think this is a perfect situation now. They got a home game against Cuba, which they need 3 points, and then probably a draw on Honduras will take them through the next round. So it would just give the whole country a boost. There's a lot of positives right now. There's a good pool of players. The MLS teams are really helping. They're raising the exposure of the game, and there's good crowds in Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto. Hopefully the academies that those clubs have will start producing some good players. But so many positive things, and I think if the team can get to the next round, it'll just increase that, and then hopefully they go the final step and get to the World Cup, and then it's just adds to so many positive things already going on in the country.
Is this stage as difficult as the next stage, you think, is getting over this hurdle?
Do you want to and roll?
Do you think the stage is trying to get over this initial hurdle is just as tough as perhaps the next stage?
They're both very difficult. I think they're both unique in their own way. I think it's the final group is obviously more difficult. There's better quality teams, but I think the Canadian team has always had trouble with the first round, and the fact that they usually get drawn in with Mexico and one other, so you're kind of competing for one spot, and it shouldn't be this way, but a lot of times you haven't played that many games together, so you're still learning a lot of things about your team, about the players on your team, who responds well to different situations, who doesn't. So the characteristics are very different, but they're both very difficult in their own right.
You still pay close attention?
I do. I watch. I scout a little bit as well, so I'm always looking at the guys from a selfish point of view in terms of who could maybe help us out in San Jose, but the patriotism always runs rampant when you see the team play. It was always a very proud moment for me, and I know the players still feel the same way, and to actually get to a World Cup again would be a huge thing.